In a quiet village nestled between emerald rice fields and misty hills, lived a boy who couldn't bear to look at his own reflection. His name was Jaya. While other children ran freely and laughed beneath the sun, Jaya would walk with his head lowered, avoiding mirrors, still ponds, or even the curious gaze of others. He believed something was wrong with him, that he wasn't smart enough, strong enough, or good enough. No matter how much his mother reassured him or how kindly the villagers spoke, the voice in his head was louder. "You'll never be like them," it would say. "You're not meant for greatness." One evening, Jaya overheard a traveler at the village tea house speak of a place called the Mirror of the Mountain, a hidden sanctuary deep in the forest where monks had lived for centuries. According to legend, those who reached the summit and gazed into the sacred mirror would see not their face, but their true nature. The traveler claimed it changed people forever. That night, as stars bloomed in the velvet sky, Jaya made a quiet decision. He would find the Mirror of the Mountain. Perhaps, just perhaps, it could show him something worth believing in. At sunrise, Jaya left with nothing but a cloth bag, some rice cakes, and a heart heavy with doubt. The path wound through tangled woods, crossed cold rivers, and climbed into the clouds. Along the way, he encountered others also seeking the mirror. A merchant tired of chasing wealth, a warrior haunted by his past, and a young girl who'd lost her voice after a tragedy. Each one carried a question, something about themselves they couldn't answer. After days of walking, the group reached the base of the mountain, where they found an old monastery carved into stone. An elderly monk welcomed them with a warm smile and tea made of lotus petals. "You seek the mirror of the mountain," the monk said, but the path is not just through the forest, it is through yourself. He explained that before they could reach the summit, they must each pass through the 3 trials of the mind, tests designed to help them confront the root of their suffering. Only those who completed them could enter the final gate. Though afraid, Jaya felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was his chance. As Jaya stepped into the first trial, he found himself in a valley where every rock, tree, and gust of wind echoed voices from his past. They weren't real, but they felt real. "You're too shy. You'll never matter. You're not good looking. You failed before. You'll fail again." These were the voices of classmates, of neighbors, and worst of all, his own inner critic. The valley grew darker the more he listened. He tried to cover his ears. He tried to run. But the more he resisted, the louder they grew. Then, from somewhere deep within, he remembered a teaching he had once heard from an old monk in the village. The mind is like a garden. What you water grows. He sat down on a stone and began to meditate. He breathed in the pain. He breathed out compassion for himself and for those who had hurt him. He breathed in the voices. He breathed out silence. And slowly the noise began to fade. One by one, the voices became whispers, and then nothing. When he opened his eyes, he was standing at the edge of the valley and the sky above him had cleared. In the next trial, Jaya entered a dense forest where masks hung from every branch. Thousands of them, each shaped like a different emotion, profession, or identity. As he walked, the masks would leap onto his face. One made him feel angry, another overly proud, another fearful, another arrogant. He became a boastful prince, a weeping child, a ruthless thief, a nervous beggar. Each mask changed his feelings, posture, even his thoughts. With every step, he lost a little more of who he really was. Terrified, he cried out, "Which one is me?" Just then, he heard the gentle voice of the monk echo in his memory. The self is like the sky, unchanged by the clouds that pass through it. He took a breath, and with mindfulness began removing each mask one by one, whispering, "This is not me. This is not me either." When he had taken off the last mask, he found himself standing alone beneath a Bodhi tree. His mind was clear. His heart was calm. For the third trial, Jaya entered a room filled with mirrors. But instead of his own reflection, each mirror showed how someone else saw him. In one mirror, he looked weak. In another, foolish. In another, kind. In yet another, invisible. Each image was different. Some flattering, some cruel, some indifferent. Confused, he turned away. If everyone sees me differently, how can I know who I am? He closed his eyes and remembered the monk's final teaching. True confidence is not built by how others see you, but by how deeply you know your own heart. With that, Jaya walked past the mirrors without needing to look. Their images no longer held power over him. At the far end of the room, a golden gate appeared. At last, Jaya stood before the mirror of the mountain. It was a simple surface of polished stone, surrounded by wind chimes and prayer flags. There was no magic glow, no celestial music, just silence. He looked into it and saw nothing. No face, no image, just space. He stared harder, and then from within the stillness, something began to form. Not a reflection, but a vision. He saw himself as a child crying alone, then learning to read, then helping his mother, then climbing this mountain. He saw every step of his journey, not just the failures, but the courage it took to keep going. He saw not a perfect boy, but a kind, resilient, and determined one. Tears streamed down his face. He finally understood. He did not need to become someone else. He only needed to see himself clearly. Jaya returned to the village weeks later, not as a warrior or a sage, but simply as himself. He no longer avoided reflections, for he now smiled at them. He spoke to others with confidence, not because he needed to impress them, but because he had something real to share. He no longer compared himself to the smartest or strongest. He walked his own path, step by step, and helped others begin theirs. Many in the village asked him what he saw in the mirror. He would always answer with a smile. I didn't find a better version of me. I found the one who had been there all along. The journey to the mirror of the mountain is a metaphor for the inner path we all must walk. In Buddhism, confidence, virya or energy, is not about arrogance or false pride. It is about developing inner strength through self-knowledge, compassion, and mindful effort. We build real confidence when we silence the unkind voices in our minds with compassion and awareness. We recognize that our roles and emotions are temporary masks, not our true identity. We stop letting others define our worth, and we begin living from the truth of our own heart. Jaya's story reminds us that confidence is not something granted from outside. It is revealed when we look deeply within, strip away illusions, and come face to face with our own awakened potential. You do not need to climb a mountain to begin. The mirror is already inside you. Do like, share, and subscribe.